Hey everyone, what's up? Yeah, it's about 11:38 on this Thursday morning. Yes, I do have to be at work in a few hours. I have to leave in about an hour and about, let's just say in about 76 minutes I have to leave. But, I thought I'd do a response, if you will. Thought I'd do a bit of a response to RowdyC's last DTA video, his last deconstructing the Disney Afternoon video. And I do apologize if this goes off prematurely. It's been known to do that at times. It's been known to do that at times, but one thing that Rowdy did in his last video is he deconstructed the one episode from Darkwing Duck that almost after its immediate airing was taken off the air and put away in the vault. And one thing Rowdy said was that even though that Darkwing Duck is one of the series that may never get a complete full release. Now that's not necessarily true though. That's not necessarily true. You see, Tailspin got a full release. One of the episodes that was banned from there was called Flying Dupes. And the reason for the banment on Flying Dupes was due to the fact that Hire for Hire had been, duped into possibly flying a bomb into Zembria to blow up and assassinate their leader, their president, if you will. So, with that said, I wouldn't necessarily rule out a complete series set for Darkwing Duck. I would not necessarily rule that out. I think even Gargoyles had an episode that was kind of banned for a while, randomly appearing here and there, but it got a complete series release. Everything was on there. So I wouldn't rule out Darkwing Duck not getting a full series release, because I think it will. I think it will get a full series release. I just got this feeling. Now, that does bring on the question as to why did certain episodes out of some of the Disney Afternoon, why did certain episodes, basically you'll see the title down below, but why did certain DTA, Disney Afternoon episodes, get banned? Or Disney Afternoon show episodes get banned. Well, you have to understand that even back then, you had a lot of the groups, a lot of these organizations, rally groups, whatever, that did whatever they could to, in their eyes, ensure the innocence of the children. Now, there's nothing wrong with trying to ensure that your child watches something more appropriate and more appropriate, more family friendly, and maybe even at times more educational. There's nothing against that. There's nothing against that whatsoever. However, there are times that you might go a little too far. They might go a little too far. What I mean by going just a little bit too far is the fact that why would you work? What I mean by going a little too far is you take a look at an episode like, let's say, Hot Spells. And you look at this episode and you say to yourself, okay, I can understand maybe why it got banned. But did it necessarily have to be banned? I'm just saying. You know, did it necessarily have to get the axe? I mean, there are some episodes, not just in animation, but in live action, that have been taken out of rotation and banned from airing on broadcast, if not cable television, but will always be seen in their entirety, uncut, when the series gets released on the DVD, if not Blu-ray. So, the episode may not be in rotation when it comes to broadcast or cable television, but when they get that release on DVD and Blu-ray as a complete series or a complete season, then that's when the episode at times will show up. But the question is, why does Disney ban some of these episodes? Why did these Disney afternoon shows get their episodes banned? Again, it's all about sensitivity. Let me explain. You see, again, like I mentioned, there's a lot of groups back then and even now that are doing whatever it takes to ensure that the kids, if they watch television or they stream stuff on Netflix or Hulu, they want to make sure that these kids will watch stuff that's appropriate and good for them and at times educational. Here's the problem though. Cable and network television, we can understand. When you got a streaming service like Netflix, Hulu Plus, Amazon Prime, when you got these networks, or when you got these services, these are basically like you're renting out a DVD or Blu-ray. These are going to basically say, hey look, we don't have the restrictions of the FCC, we don't have these certain tie-downs, we don't have these certain tie-downs or restrictions. We can do a little bit more. We can do more than what can be done on cable or network television. Which is why you see Netflix and Hulu and Amazon bringing out all these series, cartoon series, live action series, past and present, and showing them uncut. And even airing the episodes that are banned. You know, Rescue Rangers, which is one of my personal favorite shows. I mean, to have grown up on and watch. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I know there's a lot of you guys out there that feel the same way. It's one of my personal favorites, if not one of my top shows of the late 80s, early 90s. When Rescue Rangers came out, they had a lot of episodes as well. One episode that I was kind of surprised that was taken out of rotation for a while, even though I saw it on Disney Channel and probably briefly on Disney Afternoon, I mean not Disney Afternoon, but Toon Disney, was the episode of Lean on the Property. Now ironically, A Lean on the Property disappeared after 9/11. Yeah, ironically after 9/11 happened, a lot of that episode was taken off the air, was taken out of rotation. I don't know if I'm the only one that noticed that, but it was taken out of rotation, I think due to the sensitivity of the buildings toppling and moving. I mean, even Dirty Rotten Diapers, which was a very funny Rescue Ranger gadget-centric episode, even had to cut out in the repeated broadcast Gadget saying, let's shake that baby to he rebels. No. What they did when it came to the DVD release, they kept that scene in. They kept it uncut, but not edited. You see, what they did is they had Trish McNeil come back in, I think, and instead of saying baby, she said crook. Yeah. The scene is left unedited in the DVD release, uncut, I should say, in the DVD release, unaltered, uncut, basically it's uncut, but it's altered / edited, in a sense that it's still the same scene, but instead of saying baby, she says crook. And she says it in place of the baby words. She's like, let's drag that baby out by his dirty, rotten diapers. Instead, she says, let's drag that crook out. She says the same thing again when she says, let's shake that crook till he rebels. See, Disney is a company that was so built on family friendliness that they would go as far as to bring back someone like Trish McNeil or someone that sounds like Trish McNeil to do a voiceover for a certain line in an episode, just for the DVD release to be complete and somewhat uncut. And again, this does beg the question, because of the sensitivity, is this what's preventing these episodes from being, is this preventing the Disney from releasing complete series releases or finishing off the series? I would say so. I mean, Tailspin, going back to that, Last Horizon was taken off for a while. Yeah, it's true. Last Horizon was taken out of rotation for a little while. Nobody could, now a lot of people could probably understand the sensitivity to similarities to Pearl Harbor and stuff like that. But after a while, and even after 9/11, which it was still taken out of rotation because of that too, after a while, it came back on. I remember back in 2000, 2001, even after 9/11, I remember this episode being there. I do. And it's even on the complete series DVD set of Tailspin, along with Flying Dupes. So you see, just because there's similarities in everything, doesn't mean an episode's always going to remain banned forever. It's just that when one looks at it, it's more about the sensitive details that are added into the equation. You see, it takes a while. I'm sure Disney has sent people out, or you've had some focus groups or whatever come out and say, hey, look, we understand some of these episodes might have some sensitive elements to them, but they're nothing like what's going on. Maybe someone went to them and said, hey, take a look at the episode Flying Dupes. They never actually have the bomb go off there. You know, they save the Zambian president. You know, they save the Zambian leader. He's fine. He's good. Nothing's gone wrong. You know, they stopped the terrorists that wanted to start a war just because it would make them money. There you go. Last Horizons, yes, similarities at times to Pearl Harbor, but not necessarily. Yes, they Pearl Harbored Cape Suzette, but I'm sure the people at Disney had to ensure them there was kind of a mixture of discovering what you believe is Shangri-La and then finding out it's not. So, again, you know, companies like Disney, they have to do whatever it takes to get people to companies like Disney, family companies at times as well, have to, even though the material may seem sensitive, may seem like it's in need of banishment, companies like Disney will go out, and even if it's not Disney, it's the fans themselves that will help companies like Disney convince others that it's not as bad as it seems. Now, yes, there are episodes that do have subject matter in them that does require banishment because of what they're dealing with. You take a look. I mean, you do have trying to get my dog in. She's acting up. I think the weather's driving her cuckoo. But like I said, you do have episodes. Now, there are episodes, no doubt, that do require being taken off the air due to the stronger sensitivity they have. Like I was trying to say, most doubtably Bonkers, New Partners on the Block is definitely an episode. I mean, when you think about it, here's an episode that when it first aired, nobody at the time had any idea what was going to happen in Oklahoma City 2 years later, or what was going to happen in New York City in 2001. Nobody had any idea. Nobody at Disney had any idea, so that's why we had New Partners on the Block. And when those tragedies happened, especially in 1995, New Partners was gone. Any potential possibility of it coming back vanished after 9/11. And all because they have that sensitivity to them. They have that sensitivity situation to them. Now you might say, well, World Trade had that other bombing that took out the bottom part of it, the garage and all that. Shouldn't have that gotten rid of it? Shouldn't have that prevented that episode from being aired initially? Now that's a good question, but I think because of the fact that this happened before, and it wasn't, and yes, it was bad. It was an attack, but I can't really explain. I guess because maybe nobody got hurt or something. I mean, I'm sure people got hurt. Yes, they did, but I'm guessing because it wasn't as tragic as Oklahoma City or 9/11. Maybe that's why the episode was allowed to air. I don't really know. I can't really answer that question, because I know there are people that would pose that. But it's because of the fact that in the episode, the villain of the episode is a mad bomber terrorist threatening to blow up Los Angeles, if you will, if he doesn't get a certain amount of money. Then yeah, you basically have an episode that's way too sensitive, a little too dark at times, and even though it's a required episode to kind of understand why Bonkers went from Lucky to Miranda as partners, I can't really say any more than that. Now, as far as Darkwing Duck goes, Darkwing Duck has had certain episodes too. When you look at hot spells, you say to yourself, well, wait a minute. How can hot spells get banned and yet they've had all these other episodes? Well, that would probably be more required for banishment than anything else. Well, here's the thing about hot spells. You see, hot spells at the time, and I think even to this day, is looked at as a very sensitive episode from a parental view, because it's not Darkwing that's selling his soul. If it was Darkwing selling his soul, if you will, then the episode would probably still be around. It would probably still be aired. However, since it was Gosselin, a child, a preteen, if you will, selling her soul, then there you go. Pretty much because it was a child, a preteen, an 11, 12-year-old selling their soul to get what they want, that was the sensitive matter. That was the reason the episode got banned almost immediately, due to the fact that it was showing that a child was selling their soul to the devil to gain what they want. And, well, not just, to get what they want. And